Hello, my name is TYlluan. I'm a solitary pagan witch. I'm an author and the founder of the Wolf and Owl Press. Today's little chat is about getting the balance of spirituality and magic. Getting the balance right, getting it in order, getting something that feels comfortable to you, because I don't think there's any one way is correct, and I'm certainly not one of the my way or the highway brigade. So when I talk about spirituality, I'm talking about how we interact with our deities, higher powers, whatever it is that's in our lives that we feel has an influence on it, has a, what's the word now? Sometimes you feel that there's more going on in your life than you realise, and it's not just about everyday things like what to cook for tea, or have I done the washing, or have I been to work on time, or whatever it is. It's not that. It's about trying to get that inner self. The inner self is the big thing. We have to run towards things and not simply run away from them. That's quite an important idea, actually. If you have something of a spiritual nature in your life, well, you're trying to go towards it. What you shouldn't be doing is going towards it because you don't like the outer side of your life, the everyday side of your life. I don't think you can just run away and say, well, I'm retreating from the world and that's it, I'm superior because I've got an inner life. You haven't got an inner life unless you've actually gone to seek it. Otherwise, you're fooling yourself. In fact, you might be fooling nobody at all, I don't know. So the idea is, sorry about that, the idea is that we try to find a balance of what is our inner life and what is our outer life. And it's the same with the spiritual side of life, which is where we're doing the inner and outer life. It's when we're doing that, and then we're trying to balance that with doing spells. Now, I'm sure some of you come across witches who do nothing but spells. In fact, for them, everything is about the magic. It's about having wands and spell kits and tarot cards and what have you. Nothing wrong with any of these things on their own. When it starts to get a bit out of keg, as we say in my part of the world, out of balance, I'm sorry about this, I can't do anything about it. This is Poppy. She's probably barking at a reflection in the washhouse window. When it starts to get out of keg is when we do all one or all the other. There's no great benefit to doing nothing but spiritual exercises. All well in their place, all well trying to make ourselves more aware of things, more thoughtful, meditating, all that, great. But equally, if all you're doing is spells and divination, you will lose contact with your inner path. And ideally, you need to get some sort of balance between your inner path and your outer path. And that balance is something only you can pursue. I don't believe anybody else can turn around and say, oh yes, well, you must do it this way, because it doesn't seem to work like that. I know for me anyway that I have to work it out on my own. How is this going to work? How am I going to do this? And I might think to myself, well, I'll do a bit of meditating this afternoon, or I'll do a bit of reading or research or something, writing a spell even. And then I'll leave doing the spell until I'm really happy with it. And actually that can take time. There are people who say, oh, I've got a book of spells. Yes, well done. But there's more to it than having a spell written down for you. I know I sometimes, in some of my books, Not Magic was one in particular, where I actually wrote a number of examples of spells. But as far as I was concerned, these are examples. These are the sorts of things you might want to include. And that noise like a motorbike is Mabel, and she's down there snoring happily, so we won't disturb her. I forgot what I was talking about now. Dear me, they don't half distract me sometimes. And this is another thing. We have to live with these distractions. We can't shut the dogs out or shut the children out or, not go into work for a week just because it distracts us from our spiritual life or our magical life. What I was trying to sort of get through, in my book, Not Magic, I did give a lot of examples of spells. You can do it this way, just to get you, I suppose to point you in the right direction, because not many people do not spells these days. And so we do have to be thoughtful of that. There's an awful lot, though, of people out there who have no, what's the word? They have no qualms about plagiarism. They have no qualms about copying something you've said you're doing, about claiming it for their own, about pretending to be greater than they are. You find an awful lot of it. And honestly, you have to be very, very careful. You know, you have to keep your common sense hat on, because otherwise you're going to be very, very sorry. We can't do these things if we swallow everything we're told. You're going to be very sorry, because it doesn't work like that. And I'm sorry, I've waffled. I can see the timer up there says 6 minutes, and I think that's quite long enough for me to be going on about this, but maybe I'll come back to it another time. Try and get the balance. Be aware of it. Be aware of a need to get a balance, and try to see if you can just nudge things a little bit so they balance out. So you're not doing all one thing or all the other. It's a bit like a seesaw. If you keep going on a seesaw, well, all you're going to do is land flat on your bottom and possibly break the board. So don't do that in your magical or spiritual work. And that's quite enough from me. Thank you ever so much for listening. I do appreciate it. Goodbye.